And welcome everyone to the sixth session of the AASPI Speaker Series. My name is Russell Mason, I'm Vice President of AASPI and your MC for tonight. We'll start off with a little bit of housekeeping as per usual. I'd like to ask if everyone could keep their devices set to mute to reduce the background noise during the presentation. And as per previous sessions, if you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the chat function of your Zoom screen. And our moderator for tonight, Sue, will pose your questions to Mark at the end of his talk. And this session, like all previous sessions, will be recorded and uploaded to the AASPI YouTube channel. Okay, so tonight's guest speaker, we have AASPI member Mark Davidson. And Mark's a Melbourne-based photographer who loves to travel, although most of his work is essentially focused on the streets of Melbourne. His work has been featured in the Victorian Archive Centre's Into the Shadows exhibition at the VAC Gallery and AASPI's Street Beat exhibition at Michael's Gallery, and was recently runner-up in the Places category of the Mono Awards run by Capture Mag. Tonight's session, it'll be an interview-style talk with the help of our very own Adrian Weir. So on behalf of the AASPI committee, I would like to welcome all members and guests to this presentation. So without further ado, it's over to you, Scorcher and Adrian.
Thank you, Russell. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I'm going to call you that one from now on going forward, mate.
Oh, dearie me. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the invitation tonight. Most people listening probably won't know my day starts at 2:45 in the morning. So in preparation for today, I had a bit of a nap this afternoon, and when I woke up during the afternoon, I didn't know what country I was in. So, but we're ready to go now.
So as part of that 2:45, we'll give him the background. Mark usually, his job is as a producer for the 3AW Breakfast Show. So what's it like being on the other side of the microphone now there, Mark?
Not as comfortable as I am behind the scenes, to be honest. So I used to do a weekly food segment on the show with Ross Stevenson and Russell Howcroft, and that was kind of good. But yeah, generally more happy behind on the other side of the glass. So it's, but no, good to be chatting photography tonight.
Excellent. So let's start. Tell us your story. Tell us your journey. Where did it all begin for you, Mark?
Yes. So I've always had a keen interest in photography, been a fan for years. But photography for me, I think similar to you, Adrian, was something I did on my travels. So working in radio, I get 6 weeks holiday a year. So I'd take 2-3 week holidays, go and travel to some amazing locations, and I'd photograph with my friends, with my partner, and come back and sometimes print my work. I wouldn't get anything that amazing, but I'd come and print it, and my camera would go back in the cupboard, and it wouldn't come out again until I travelled the next time. But that all changed. I think it's the end of 2018. I went on a work trip to the Philippines, which was fantastic. Got a free trip there. There were about 10 other journalists, another photographer, young guy who's named Connor Vaughan, Melbourne photographer, really, really good stuff. He does sort of urban landscapes and landscape photography. And we just really hit it off. We had a great time, and he sort of inspired me to pick up the camera more. And I obviously had my camera there, and he was a fellow Nikon shooter, and we just talked photography the whole time. I said, when I get back to Melbourne, I'm going to take it a bit more seriously. And yeah, so for the past year and a half, I've been doing street stuff in Melbourne, and yeah, so I've taken it seriously for probably about a year and a half now. I did a 10-week course at RMIT when I got back in 2018, and that was good for two reasons. I really got to know my camera. Before that, I was shooting in sort of aperture priority, even I guess program mode, to be honest, and really nutted down the settings of my camera. Shoot fully manual now, and it's good also that it made me go out every day on the street. I had a couple of projects I had to get done, so I started going out to do those, and I found that I was just absolutely loving it. So it made me get out and shoot every day, and yeah, and from then I haven't really looked back.
So where do you find the time to shoot? Up at 2:45 in the morning?
Yeah.
Until mid-morning?
Yeah.
You've got to be exhausted after that.
No, it's actually really, really convenient. So in at work 3:30, I finish around 10, 11 o'clock, and then I'll probably shoot for, a couple of hours. I live in Kensington, so I walk from the city. It takes about an hour, so I just photograph what I see on my walk home. So walk through the city. I think we were talking, Adrian, we caught up a few months ago, and Matt Stewart, street photographer You said that he walks the same route every single day. You know, not every single day, but fairly often just the same route. That's pretty much what I do. So I walk through the streets and alleys of Melbourne on my way home, and then yeah, shoot what I see, and then get home and see what I've got.
Excellent. So let's start. I'll share my screen and let's start following your journey through your photographs.
Yeah.
And you can talk us. We'll go through them from there. So hopefully you can all see that.
Yes. So, wow, this is taking me back a bit. I think, when was this? 2017. So this is the kind of stuff that I would go and do when I was traveling. So this is in India, up in a region called Ladakh, near Kashmir. And this was another work trip actually. So I've had a few freebies, which is kind of nice. So yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I would do, you know, nothing too outstanding, but, you know, just love experiencing other cultures, love traveling to sort of, you know, culturally diverse, more exotic places. So this was the typical, the kind of stuff I'd do a few years ago, really.
Well, what I like, what you sent me, Mark, is of the travel photography, is that candid. It showed that street eye from the start, rather than just like a picture of the Taj Mahal or a picture of the architecture or posed or stage photos. Are automatically candid and lifestyle photos, which is why I picked this one.
Yeah.
And I really like this one. First time I've seen it.
Oh, really? Yeah, this is in Turkmenistan. Again, oh, I feel bad. Not every trip I go on is a work trip, I promise. I do pay for some of them. But this was another work trip. Funny story, not many people go to Turkmenistan like Bangladesh that you visited, Adrian. So we had a guest on our radio program who cycled from Dublin to Melbourne. And Ross, one of the presenters, said, "Is there any country you wouldn't go back to?" And he said, "Turkmenistan." He said it was horrible. So I said, "Right, I'm going to go there." so I contacted a travel company and said, you know, as part of the program, we do a travel program on Saturdays. You know, I'll pay my airfares. Are you happy if I jump on one of your tours? I said, yep. And went to Turkmenistan. There's no tourists there. So photographing people was kind of difficult. They sort of didn't really know what you were doing. They were a little bit shy, which is, you know, fair enough. But yeah, this was in one of the markets in Turkmenistan. So yeah, this is back in the day where I hadn't really got to know my camera, wasn't taking photography too seriously. It was just sort of a hobby really. Yeah, so I sort of just a little spray and prayed really. So
it's beautiful, mate. The expression on her face. So now we're back in Melbourne. So I'm guessing this is after you've been to the Philippines. You
yes.
come back and...
Yeah, so this is typical of the stuff I used to do when I first started taking photography more seriously. So it was long exposure, black and white. Another photographer in Melbourne, My Melbourne, I think his Instagram handle is, Dominic. So I used to shoot a lot of this kind of stuff, and he would say, you know, whenever your stuff comes up, I know exactly who it is. And so I've sort of moved away from this kind of stuff a little bit. I don't really know why, just sort of my tastes have changed and sort of my styles evolved. If I'm being completely honest, my style's probably a little bit more generic these days. You know, a lot of people are doing that high contrast, deep shadow type of photography on Instagram, which is, I haven't gone out to copy anyone, obviously. I just sort of gravitated to some of the scenes that I've enjoyed shooting. But yeah, this is more typical of the stuff that I used to do a year and a half, 2 years ago. So yeah.
Like to see Flinders Street with people in it. It's just...
Yeah, I know, exactly.
So another one, I like this one.
Yeah.
So,
this is actually a composite. So if you look at it, I wasn't very good at editing photos. So this is actually 2 photos, which I don't really do now. So I just got a shot off a couple of frames. She was standing like that for ages, but you know, this guy walking past is actually, I put him in, just blended 2 photos. So, but yeah, it's not something I do anymore. But back then, when you're new to photography, you just want to try everything. You just want to learn how to use the software, learn how to use the camera. So I just experimented with a couple of different styles. So yeah, this is actually a composite. So.
Cool. No, I think it would have worked well as a single with her pose and those cloths, mate. It's her pose, her hand on her forehead. It's just great there.
Actually, I should probably go back and have another look at it actually and see what it looks like without him.
So moving to reflections.
Yeah. Again, this is the 3 previous ones you saw were on my Nikon. Then I bought a little Fuji XT20. Just wanted something, because taking my DSLR to work every day was getting a bit of a pain, lugging it home. So I bought sort of a smaller camera. And yeah, this is, again, just experimenting, getting to know the camera, doing some reflection stuff. This is actually the first shot that went pretty well on Instagram. I don't know why, but it did. And I'm like, oh, so yeah, this again, just sort of doing some reflection stuff. The leaf is kind of nice, sort of sits there at the top, but yeah, it was again in my sort of more experimental, developing my style sort of phase.
I'm guessing this one, I was going to ask you if this was a composite to start off with, looking at it through there, but I think that you answered that beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is a combination of, so obviously setting up the tripod, did a combination of slow shutter speed, long exposure stuff, and just getting some just some more sharp images as well, and blending them all together. So this is probably about 5, 6 images all in one. But I reckon this style of photography, this is the last one I did, and then after that I said I'm just going to get street stuff and not do the composite sort of stuff anymore. So yeah, but no, it's just fun playing around and experimenting. And there's a photographer, Alexi Titarenko. I'm not sure if you've seen his stuff. I really love his stuff. He does really long exposure stuff around train stations in Russia, and this is kind of what inspired me to go out and capture this. So
you used the word inspire. Are there photographers that have inspired you to, in your style, in your direction that you've moved to?
Yeah, well, definitely Alexi Titarenko was probably one of the early ones. You know, I think Fan Ho, obviously, Sol Leiter is incredible photographer. Trent Park is someone I really enjoy his work. Black and white. I did all my stuff in black and white early on, but I've kind of sort of mixed it up a lot more. So a lot more color and you know, interspersing with black and white. But yeah, so Fan Ho, Trent Park, they're amazing photographers, and even stuff like Don McCullum, the war photographer. If you know, in a previous life, because I work in radio and journalism, I studied journalism. You know, if I had my time again, and if I was a 18-year-old kid, I might even, you know, want to get into sort of documentary photojournalism, but I've probably missed that boat, you know, and there's not many jobs around anyway these days. So it's, yeah, but I really like his work as well.
Cool. So this is the first one where we really see in your style moving towards that, you know, light, shadow, contrast.
Yeah.
And even into colour here.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the first, I reckon this is the first photo that we hooked up on. I reckon it's the first photo you commented on and asked, and we just started chatting after I posted this one. So I could be wrong, but I think it was around then. This is, yeah, I was on the way home. This is North Melbourne station. And yeah, so I get off at the next stop, South Kensington. And yeah, I just really loved the light on this day. So I got off the train and went up on the concourse, and obviously you can see there wasn't many people around that day. I think it was a Sunday. And yeah, this is pre-COVID, but there's still no one around. So,
well, it's really good, man. So, and I know this spot down near Southern Cross. It's good.
Yeah, so Collins Street. This is 100 meters from my work. This was the photo that got it into the Victorian Archives exhibition, which I think you and your wife were featured in as well.
Yeah.
The Into the Shadows exhibition. So yeah, this is again just getting to know my camera. You know, just working with that deep shadow and light and high contrast stuff. So yeah, this is when I really started to sort of get into more of that photography. So, but yeah, it's
the colour's good with the red at the back. It's quite dynamic. You're shot from the hip or a bit lower.
Yeah, definitely. I think I just sort of quickly just tried to get it from the hip. Obviously, he's not really in focus too much, but yeah, it's a good little spot. I've tried to sort of work it out and get some more stuff, because at about 11 o'clock in the summer, there's some really nice shadows, but I've never been able to nail the scene. I've probably been back half a dozen times and never come away with anything I'm really happy with. But yeah, This was, I think this is probably about a year ago, I reckon, I took this. So.
I look forward to see what you get from there now.
Yeah.
Put the pressure on yourself. So
Oh,
we go. One of your more successful shots.
Yeah. Yeah, this, so I think you and a few other photographers, I think John Evertonian's got one from this spot as well, but from a different vantage point. So up on, was it Victoria Street, isn't it? Near the design hub at RMIT. So you got one looking down from up above. And I sort of went round, turned the corner and came back and shot this. I was walking home. It was a lovely day. I was just at the Vic Market and the light sort of caught my eye. I thought, oh, sun's doing some interesting things at the moment. So I went back, went to the RMIT Design Hub and got this, waited a while until some people walked past. But yeah, this is, so this is the sun going through the slats there. And I think the sun stayed in that position for about 15, 20 minutes and then it was gone. But I got a few good frames that day. And yeah, put it on Instagram, and it was funny. I was at work, and you just put stuff on Instagram, and whatever some people like it. It's you don't pay too much attention, but Street Photography International put this one up, and my phone started pinging away at work. I was like, what's going on? And so yeah, this one sort of went around a bit, which is good. And I think again, the good thing about Instagram is the people you meet, and I think we started properly chatting after I posted this. We had a bit of a discussion about your work and my work, and it was, it's good to sort of make those connections via photography. And I think Melbourne's got a really good sort of collection of street photographers, and it's things like AASPI. It's great to sort of be part of and meet people and sort of share the streets and meet up with fellow photographers. So Instagram's great for that. I mean, we've probably seen I'm not sure if everyone's seen The Social Dilemma at the moment, that documentary on Netflix. Have you seen it, Adrian?
I've seen parts of it. I haven't watched it all the way through yet, but yeah, the algorithms
paints a pretty bad picture of social media, and rightly so, really. But yeah, when you're making the connections like we've made and other photographers, I think it can be a positive as well.
Yeah. Here we go, mate. So moving back towards black and white, but really into the high contrast shadow style now that has become your signature style, I think.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. So this is up in near Parliament Station, Little Collins. I mean, I'm more of a fisher rather than a hunter. So if I see a scene like this, I'll even wait up to an hour in the one spot. So I don't mind at all. Like I'm really happy on the street, doing my own thing, just on my own. So my wife hates it, so she obviously never comes with me. So, but yeah, I probably waited a good half an hour for someone to walk past. I think hats are a street photographer's best friend, really, hats and umbrellas. So yeah, this is it's kind of a typical shot that I've done at the moment. But yeah, this is again, it's me working out, what kind of style I wanted. This is obviously dropping the blacks a lot to get this sort of look, but it's it's as you say, it's what I'm sort of known for at the moment, I guess. So.
That hour you're waiting, it might be that you've fallen asleep for 45 minutes after being up from
exactly.
2:45, and then you sort of wake up and go, I can grab a shot now.
Exactly.
I love it, mate. And this is just for everyone in case Mark doesn't say, this just recently was awarded second place in the mono category. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, in the Capture magazine mono competition, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, mono awards. And yeah, this is at North Melbourne Station. I probably fired off about 100 frames this day, just sort of getting people as the train's going past and coming down the elevator. And yeah, I just love how the light was hitting the concourse that day. And, it was a real surprise to sort of get that runners up. You just sort of enter stuff and not think anything about it. And it was great to sort of have that win runners up. So yeah, it's and
great pick. Talk us through the pick. What went through your mind? What you saw and how you constructed this one?
So I've got a few other ones that I haven't sort of posted, but there's the single person coming down the elevator. A lot of the other pics, there were multiple people coming down. It was a fairly busy day. And I just loved, so the tram is going by pretty fast, snapping at really high shutter speeds, and you could see on the back of the camera, the reflections you were getting off the window. And I just really loved the vibe and the feel of it. And it was just a lovely, pleasant day to be out shooting. And I had to bring that guy up in the window a fair bit, but yeah, it was just a really lovely day to be out shooting. And I sort of love how it has a dreamy type feel about it. I don't know, people going to work, people coming home, and the mind's probably on a million other things, but I just like this it feels a bit serene and calm to me. I don't know why. So it's
awesome. So was this train, I assume the train was stationary. Was it stationary or was it moving when you took the train?
Moving a little bit, but yeah, mainly stationary. So yeah, it's pulling into the station. So yeah, it's not going too fast. I think there's another photographer, Kim
Boyd?
Gets some really amazing work at North Melbourne Station. I think it's North Melbourne Station. It seems like it, but she does some amazing work there. So I came across her work, I think after I got this, but yeah, she really nails it there. So it's great.
Bumped into her at North Melbourne Station?
Did you?
No, I haven't. Have you bumped into her?
Have I? No, we've never really had a chat. We've never connected, so I haven't seen anyone else taking photos there, so no. And this is around the corner from my house. So I think one of the things COVID's taught you is, you got to be within 5 Ks of your house. So I guess shoot what's around you, really. So this is just an underpass at around Kensington Road. I love the colours. Before this, I didn't really shoot that much, and I love the orange. Again, I probably waited half an hour for someone to actually walk by, because no one ever walks by. It's a unpedestrianised street, really. So yeah, someone finally did and got this, and yeah, it's not bad. I mean, again, someone's got a hat on, which is adds a bit. So it's always great when the photo gods give you someone like that. So yeah, it's nice. But people probably think I'm weird because I do actually stand in the same spot for a very long time. So probably wondering what I'm up to.
I think at one stage or another, mate, all of us are considered weird by someone else in the public for
exactly
for what we do and how we go about it. I love this one, Mark, taken in Footscray, and it's interesting because your style moved towards a lot of high contrast and shadows, and all of a sudden, bang, like from left field, you've got this. Yeah,
and look, I love the work of sort of more conventional or straight street photographers, like obviously Joel Meyerowitz and Matt Stewart, and closer to home Diego and everyone. It's not something I'm probably good at. Like I don't go out, and even Mike Reed stuff. We saw his talk a couple of weeks ago, and that's phenomenal. And I sort of don't notice those things as much when I go out to shoot. It's not something I've sort of trained myself to do. I would like to do it, but it's just, thus far along the journey, I haven't sort of focused on that. So I was actually shooting something else this day. There was a guy feeding the pigeons, and this is in Footscray, and I was having a chat with him, and he was a lovely guy. We just sort of chatting, and this kid started playing with the pigeons, and I just sort of spun around and snapped this, and he was in that perfect position with the barrier right at his nose. And yeah, I just enjoyed it. It was a nice spot. I mean, couldn't control the position of the pigeons, obviously, but it's a nice little scene, I think.
He's got clear space all around him. I think it's great, mate.
Yeah.
So, okay. Sort of shadow again.
Yeah, a lot of shadow.
Turbans, everything you want.
Yeah, this is at Southern Cross Station. Just pockets of light, people walking through pockets of light. This is quite close to me. I don't really do that. I think we're similar in a way. We're sort of, watching from far a little bit. I'm not sort of an in-your-face type photographer. So yeah, this is a little bit off piste for me, really. But yeah, I just like the feel of it. But again, I don't sort of go out and shoot these scenes that often. But yeah, it was nice to sort of experiment again and get to know the street and the camera. So yeah, it was nice. And again, yeah, you're right with that nice hat on that she's wearing. So it's yeah,
So
it was good.
as you said, it's different to how you normally approach it in that you've got him closer. What pulled you at that moment? What got you to do that at this time to grab your shot?
It was the light. So I was just I was on my way home and I could see these two sort of streaks of light coming down through the roof at Southern Cross, and I noticed how people were walking through it. And you know, there's probably people, you know, just off screen here and next to her, but the light was illuminating people when they walked through. So yeah, it was just, I just sort of noticed the light, how it was hitting people, and I thought it made for a really interesting contrast shot. So stopped and got a few frames. So.
And I like his face covering here. It's, you know, mask before we had to wear masks.
Exactly. He was ahead of the game. So this is pre-COVID. So he was, he knew what was what. Now you tipped me off to a location, Adrian, where is it? South Wharf, where the arrows in the car park. Yeah, so I saw one of your shots. I'm like, that's fantastic. I think it was the last photo you posted before you went to Europe, whenever that was. And I'm like, I'm like, I don't often ask people where locations are. Sometimes I will if I can't sort of work it out. But I don't really want to go and copy anyone else's photo. But for this one, I thought, you know what? Stuff. I just want to get a frame of that. So I asked you where it was, and this is in the same location, just a little bit further down. So this is sort of exiting the car park, and yeah, this is obviously high contrast, blowing out the highlights there, and yeah, I just sort of like the feel of her walking into sort of oblivion almost. I don't know, it feels a bit sci-fi. So
no, I like how you've let the highlights blow out rather than actually just try to crush those blacks further and control the whites. It really adds a lot of mood.
Yeah.
Was that what you were planning on, or do you think you got it and went, oh wow, that's cool, or that's what you wanted to capture beforehand, how you visualized it?
I did have an idea. I didn't go there with this idea, but this is actually on my Nikon, so not my Fuji, and I think this is my 16mm, so really wide. And I just was taking some photos of the tunnel, and then I was thinking, oh, hang on, this can work. So I sort of set up and got, you know, the lights in that position just for some bit of contrast and a bit of interest in the photo. And yeah, just sort of knew that I wanted to blow out the highlights, because there's nothing really interesting at the end of the tunnel. There's, you know, some trees and a bollard, I think. So I knew that I wanted to blow that out and then drop the blacks in post. So yeah, so I didn't go there with that in mind, but once I was there, I thought, I think this can work. So
probably better than the arrow photo.
Oh no, I like the arrow photo. I think it's great.
Did you get the arrow photo yourself then?
Yeah, have you seen it? I did post one on my Instagram, but I got someone coming the other way, so going against the arrows, so a little bit different to yours.
I'll have to go check that
out. This was kind of nice. So this is South Bank. I was walking around getting absolutely nothing for hours, getting pretty frustrated. And I think it was about 5:30 in the afternoon, so it was out late for me. And yeah, this sort of scene appeared, and I just love the sort of gradation of shades there. And that sort of shadow was just slicing diagonally across the scene. I really liked it. Again, had to wait a long time for someone to come, but then a flurry of people came and I got a few different shots of this scene. But yeah, this is, I guess, I don't know if you know that photo by Fan Ho with the diagonal shadow. Kind of reminded me of that, so I sort of just wanted to get it. And I reckon the bane of street photographers at the moment, I don't know if you agree, is backpacks. I get sick of people wearing backpacks all the time. So
no, that's been replaced by face masks. Wait till we get back out there.
Yeah. So that's the only thing. I wish you didn't have a backpack on, but yeah, you get what you get, I guess. So.
But I like the other word. It feels like, you know, that is the sun and the light coming from the sun.
Yeah.
I think there's a really interesting story in that to be had with that place.
Yeah, and I think you went there with a photographer from Singapore. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Sean and I went there and did some with his Urban Dancer series. So he's staged some shots there, which whole different ball game again. But
yeah,
yeah,
really good stuff. So
but yeah, I like the feel of that. That's almost like a planet, and you're getting the sun, and you're almost like in the eclipse on one side, and the light and that coming through, and creating a story around that.
yeah, no, you're right. I think that's obviously a massive window. I don't even know what this building is. Is it the
It's
the
this
art
Centre
centre?
of
No, it's sort of.
Contemporary Music,
Yes, yeah, that's
part of
right.
Melbourne
Yeah,
University.
so it's okay, yeah. So, but it was great. I guess it just sort of, you get rewarded if you stay out and persist at it, and some days you get absolutely nothing, but sometimes you get a bit lucky, and the sun is different, obviously at different times of day. So for me, I'm obviously shooting mostly in the morning because I want to go home and have a nap after getting up at 2:45. So yeah, being at a different time of day is often pretty rewarding. So I might probably do more of that once COVID is over.
So sort of again, back to sort of almost like where you started. You've almost got a circle here.
Yeah, this was just, I mean, I was actually, this is the first time I met you, to be honest. We met at the transport. Yeah, and I was just waiting around, and I got there a little bit early, so just sort of set up with a wide angle lens in front of Flinders Street and just went bang and got it's nothing amazing. I just, but I just like the expression he got, and because it was wide, I didn't seem too close. I don't think he really even noticed what I was doing, so so it was fine. But yeah, it's not really stuff that I'm doing a lot of these days anymore. So yeah, and where's this? Oh, this is Parliament Station. Just the entrance into the station. Love a flat cap. And yeah, just love that sort of slither of shadow and the pop of the yellow, and just waited at the top of the stairs for, again, probably 15-20 minutes for a few people to walk down, and got this one. So yeah, I was kind of happy with it. He's carrying a book and just told a little bit of story for me. But yeah, it's okay, I think.
I like that you framed him into the shadow rather than into the light. That I think most would have been tempted to sort of get him into the light. I think it adds another element into it.
Yeah. I mean, most people sort of did walk down that shadow side of the frame, and yeah, I think you're right. I think typically I probably would have put someone in the sunlight, but yeah, I thought, you can't see who he is. Obviously, he's sort of anonymous, on his way somewhere, and yeah, I just sort of like the story and what it was saying, and yeah, I don't mind that he's in the shadow. And again, the yellow, pop of yellow. This is off, where's this, Latrobe Street or something, just in a car park. I love seeking out geometry in my street shots, so I just love that triangle of light, and yeah, this is becoming fairly popular on Instagram, and you sort of hate to see everyone sort of doing the same thing. I'm probably guilty of tipping into that a little bit, but yeah, someone emerging from the shadows is something I do a little fair bit of. So yeah, I just like the scene. The triangle stayed that way for probably about 10 minutes, and then the sun moved. But yeah, I sort of like that. I like the austere sort of concrete car park, and yeah, he's nicely contrasted with the white t-shirt. So yeah, it was all right. Now this is Nepal. So the last trip that I got to take before COVID. So this is in March in Kathmandu. We flew out. COVID was sort of started being talked about fairly seriously, and then it went bang and hit when we got there. But yeah, the light was beautiful on this day. Just walking back to our hotel in Kathmandu, we'd just been to a temple, and yeah, it's just sort of a nice typical street scene. I mean, you've been to Nepal. I think you said after Bangladesh, and yeah, there's a lot you can shoot. It's just, I don't know, sort of slowing down and focusing on finding some stories and finding some scenes. So it's pretty overwhelming there, but it was yeah, this almost feels sort of calm and not chaotic at all. But yeah, it was a nice little scene.
Yeah, it's different for the eye to train it to the different backgrounds and the chaos and all that can come around it. It can get overwhelming. Is that how you found it in Nepal after shooting through Melbourne, or you didn't find it that much different to transfer your skills across?
Oh, look, I knew what to expect in Nepal. I've been a lot of places in Asia and Southeast Asia, and I sort of used to all the chaos and sort of really embraced it. To be honest, I sort of love being there. And I think we spoke about you'd been to Bangladesh and then went to Nepal. I think, is that right, or was it the other way around? Yeah. And you found Nepal a bit challenging just because you'd seen so many different scenes in Bangladesh, and it was just a different vibe, or?
Yeah, different vibe. I found I got frustrated in Nepal because Bangladesh is so genuine. When you go to Nepal, and I found it a little bit disingenuous after what Bangladesh was, but it's probably also a bit unfair to Nepal as well. You know, there are a few places like Bangladesh. But anyway, we're here to talk about you, mate, not me.
No, I find it really interesting. We had a fantastic time in Nepal. We did some hiking, which was great. I'm no good at landscape photography at all, so I didn't even really try. But it was just nice to be on the street. I was with my wife, so I can't go too crazy with sitting in scenes for an hour because she'd get the red hot squirts. So I sort of snapped a few of these scenes and moved on fairly quickly. But there's so much to focus on in Nepal. It's just taking the time and trying to not rush yourself and find some good locations.
And this boy here, is he the same boy?
Yes, this one's probably about 200 meters up the street. So I wasn't creeping and following him or anything. I think he stopped and then he walked through the frame again. And I just love this sort of gentle breeze blowing the curtain and how he fits nicely into the shadow. So I really like that.
That's why I picked that one. I like that one because of the curtain. Yeah. Dynamic to the scene.
Yeah. Nepal again, sort of similar-ish style to what I do back in Melbourne. I gave my wife my other camera and said, you go nuts. And she likes photography, but she's not into it as much as I am. So she was happy trying to get a few scenes, and I just sort of parked myself here and fired off a few frames. And yeah, it's rare to get only two people in a frame in Nepal because it's really busy. So yeah, it's nice that, everyone's on their mobiles these days. It's hard to get someone not on a phone in a photo in 2020, but yeah, he's I like the way the shadows are working and the two diagonals there and that little pocket of light that he's in the silhouette. So yeah,
I quite like how he's had, you got the shadow going here and it's almost a continuation along the hairline down to the shadow there.
Yeah, exactly. I had a few other ones of this and I didn't really know I had this until I got back to Melbourne. So yeah, it was not, I did notice that it's a continuation of that diagonal. So I do look for these shapes, and triangles and diagonals and geometry features pretty heavily in some of my stuff. So yeah.
And back in Melbourne?
Yeah, back in Melbourne.
After a 14-day quarantine?
Yes, I had to sit at home for 14 days and work from home, which was, it was fine. It was worth it. But yeah, this is my little route that I walk home from. So I work in the Age building in opposite Southern Cross Station. This is Little Burke, I think, the sort of the Spencer Street end. I walk past this every day, and the sun's not doing this right at the moment, but yeah, at about sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock, it does this. And again, waited for someone to walk past and got this. So yeah, this is sort of more typical of what I'm doing these days, that sort of shadow work and geometry on the street. So yeah, I just sort of find this stuff interesting, but probably gets a bit repetitive. So there you go, some more.
Which one? Elizabeth Street, isn't it?
Latrobe.
Latrobe, okay.
Yeah, so this is corner of Elizabeth and Latrobe. Yeah, so pretty close to Elizabeth Street. Yeah, I've never seen the sun do. I just like the colours as well. So, the purple, the pinkish, and the teal as well. I love that, and just sort of waited for this guy to walk past and got that silhouette. And a lot of some of the other frames, it wasn't silhouetted. People were walking in the sunlight and got their face, but yeah, I sort of like it with the silhouette. I think it works a little bit better. But yeah, I just like the colours, like the shadows, obviously. So, and I've only seen the sun do this once, so I was pretty lucky to be there at that time. So yeah.
Mate, so yep, you talk it.
No, this is just in Kensington, my local post office. I walked past this scene and I'm like, oh, like I do feel a little bit uncomfortable photographing people. It's not something I'm not definitely not a Bruce Gilden type jumping out in front of people and trying to get a photo. So I sort of took this pretty surreptitiously, but I walked past. The light was falling on him. He had the hat. He had the blazer. I'm like, kind of had an old school, old worldy type feel, and the reflections in the window just sort of made it for me. So I think I went back and walked past 2 or 3 times and tried not to get seen. But yeah, it was. This is on another day where I walked home, got absolutely nothing, and got this at the end of the day. So yeah, I was fairly happy with it. So, but again, it's not something that I typically do. But I think it's because I'm only doing it for a year and a half. I like just experimenting with stuff and sort of evolving my style really. And yeah, this was kind of had a nice feel about it, I thought.
So I'll put it to you, mate. You say it's not something you typically do. I think it's more the point. It's something which is harder to see. So in between, you're shooting your high contrast shadow shots, and when something like this does present, you are seeing them and trying to capture them.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. Yeah, it's not something I go out and focus on, and I haven't sort of trained my photography eye to see those scenes. Really, and I mentioned it before, but looked at Mike Reed's work a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, some of his stuff's incredible, and yeah, I don't sort of see those kind of things on the street at the moment, and especially now with COVID, there's no one on the street, so you can't. But yeah, it's kind of nice to do something a bit different from time to time.
Awesome. It reminds me, I don't know, as a kid, the TABs. I think it's like one of those old guys looking at the betting form at the TAB. He's got his hat on, trying to win on the GGs. That's when I see it, for whatever reason, that's the story I see within it. It's but the timeless classic feel. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Actually, it definitely does have that sort of gambling betting vibe, doesn't it? So, and I think we've all been here, haven't we? This is the underpass in, where is that? I think it's Spencer Street, isn't it? Yeah. But I just like, he's sort of carrying a bag that almost looks like a food delivery bag, and next to the Deliveroo ad, and I like that feel. Again, this sort of splice of light, someone walking through the frame is something I see a lot, and something I try and capture on the streets of Melbourne. So yeah, again, this is just light and shade work, and got a few people walking through, but I think this tells the story best just with that bag and just with his suit and the fact that he's an older gentleman. I just sort of like the scene a little bit more. So yeah. Yeah, and this is the Trove Street. This was, I just love how the light's falling through the doorway here. Yeah, again, focusing on this geometric shadows and light work. I think I went back to this scene probably 4 or 5 times. Didn't get the shots I wanted, and finally I got something that sort of felt right and had a bit of a feel. But yeah, I've got probably 100 frames of this scene, and this one kind of felt it worked the best for me. The shadows, his shadows in the light, and just the fact that he's walking out, I thought it had a nice feel about it. So, and I think you've got a good one here too, Adrian. So.
But no, I like this shadow here. It's almost pointing you down to that. It's sort of got this triangle going through them there. And we've got a triangle going outside and then the triangle through there. So there's some nice geometry going through there, mate.
Yeah, there's actually a frame of someone next to that shadow, and it looks like they've got a walking stick. So yeah, it was a nice little sort of feature there as well.
It's a colour monochrome, so it's very cool.
Yeah.
You got a story about this one?
Yeah, I got told off for this one. I think everyone who takes photos on the street gets told off. This is I didn't realise it was a government building. So I walk past this every day on the way home, and I noticed how the light was falling on the wall and the windows, and no one would ever walk past. So I've probably returned this scene probably 10 times. No one ever walked past. And this guy is a security guard. So I got that photo and he came and told me off. But he was fine about it. You know, he again, we've all been there. You just sort of tell people what you're doing. There's nothing nefarious going on. I wasn't trying to case the joint, but yeah, it was. I got a few frames of that, but I think it's got a bit of an isolating feel about it, and I just like the light work really. So yeah, again, this is in the era of COVID. Just like the triangle, how the light was working that day, and even the pole, just that sort of pop of colour. He's got his sort of he's clenched his fist there. He sort of looks a bit angry. But yeah, again, just waiting at that scene for someone to walk past. And I think our photos are going to have masks in them for probably at least another 6 months to a year, aren't they? So yeah,
Quite a while.
Yeah, quite a while. Now, this is interesting.
You had a story for this one, and I'm waiting for it.
Yeah, I actually don't like this photo. So you sent me this location and said, go there, 11 o'clock. The light's really interesting. And it is. You've got a frame from down the hill looking up. And I don't like the shot because it's got all the elements that should make it work. It's got nice light. It's got a guy, great clothes, hat. His shadow sort of pops up in, but for me, it just doesn't work. I don't know why. I don't have any attachment to it. And when I look at it, I'm like, I really didn't nail it that day. So yeah, it's just, I put it up, but it's a photo that I don't really like that much. So, but again, it's just good to be on the street. And I sort of wanted to get a different angle from the one you took. But yeah, for me, it just doesn't quite get there. I don't know why. You might be able to tell me.
It's an interesting scene. I love the lights, how it reflects off the building. I like the cells that it creates, but it's actually compositionally, I think, quite difficult to do much with it.
Yeah, I struggled with it. I don't know if he's in the right spot or if I could have done anything different, but yeah, it's just something feels a bit off to me, and I can't sort of figure out why really. But yeah, if anyone wants to critique it, that'd be great. But yeah, it's sort of, I felt it had all the elements, but it just didn't work. So
go back.
Yeah, I should. Well, I have gone back a few times, but there's no one on the streets these days, so it's hard for me. Yeah. I loved how his t-shirt matched with the fascia on the building there. Just going from almost that blue to light, working down with the stripes. So yeah, that was just a lucky catch, really. Again, I never go out looking for these kind of juxtapositions or quirky sort of street scenes, but sometimes they just fall into your lap, and that happened that day. So yeah, I was quite pleased with that one. Again, yeah, this is getting sort of repetitive a little bit, but yeah, this is in Kensington, just typical of the stuff I do really. Just that streak of light, I sort of enjoy that. I think it's what really attracts me in photography. So I just sort of look for these scenes, and this is another scene of one you showed earlier with the orange. So, and Footscray, yeah. Again, I just sort of like it almost doesn't feel like you're in Melbourne really. But I just love the sort of pastel colours of the shop fronts, and the shadows are kind of nice, and him placed in the centre of those, I think, sort of worked well. But yeah, this is it's not black and white, it's not deep shadow, but I really just like this scene. I don't know what it is about it. I think it's just the colours that attracted me on that day. So
yes, I like your framing because it's different. If you look at what you've done in the underpasses, you've really concentrated on that beam of light and getting the person walking here. Here you've gone wider and captured a bit more of the scene, whether it was a missing sign or playing with some of the extra geometry. But I find it was sort of a bit different to your previous style of how you've shot this style of light.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely different for me. And I was in the middle of the road, so I nearly got hit by a car. So yeah, it was, but it is a bit wider. But yeah, it's something about the framing, just sort of the geometry with the building, with the step down and the awning. So yeah, it was just a nice scene that I thought I'd snap a few frames of.
So that's the last photo I've got there, Mark. We're pretty much chronologically gone through that there. So where to? Where do you see yourself moving to? Where do you want to move to photographing?
I'm just really loving just learning. I don't have a plan really. I just love photography. Really, you know, I shoot most days now. I just want to keep getting better. I want to keep developing my style because I think I said earlier, touched on it, that I had more of a distinct style back in the early days with that black and white, that long exposure kind of stuff. And I feel like my stuff's getting a little bit more generic these days. But yeah, so just continuing to work on photography, maybe try, you know, some more different styles of street really, but just keep getting better and learning because yeah, I'm loving it. I've only been doing it a year and a half, but I just, yeah, absolutely loving it. So I don't really have any plans to make it a vacation or anything, but just doing it as a hobby and yeah.
So you say developing your style. Do you have a vision for what you might want that style to be?
No, I don't think so. I think it just sort of happens naturally. It's just sort of evolving. I don't have an end game, no. Yeah, I mean, it's not, I definitely don't have something that I'm working towards. I just want to keep, I've just bought a new little Ricoh, so even smaller camera than my Fuji. So it's just photographing as much as I can and just trying different things and developing that style and seeing what happens really. So,
yeah. Well, I'll hand back. Thanks for the chat, Mark. I've enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Done well. You'll be on the 3AW Breakfast Show as the main host before you know it.
I don't think so.
So I'll hand over to Sue.
No worries. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Adrian, and thanks, Mark. Wow, amazing. Fabulous. I'm also a fan of Fan Ho's work. And
it's great.
Yeah, just absolutely beautiful. And I can really see how he's inspired, I think, some of your work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a master of light, isn't he?
Oh, he's incredible. Yeah, just makes you want to be in Hong Kong, you know,
So
years
much.
ago or something. It's really good. So
definitely. So we've got a couple of questions, Mark.
Sure.
The first one is, you mentioned that you did some study at RMIT. So the question is, what course, or what was the course that you did?
It was a 10-week photography level 2 at RMIT. I think it was just called, Introduction to Photography level 2 at RMIT. And it was just really good to force you to do stuff. I think we had a project where we had to shoot bikes. I hope Adrian's not listening, but I hate bikes. I can't be, I'm not a cyclist at all. So that was a really challenging project to go out and shoot cyclists. So I just had a bit of fun with it. I got my mate, I got some secondhand bikes off some secondhand websites and threw them down the stairs and just sort of played around and experimented. So it was just good to sort of really make you go out and photograph things. So it was good.
Yeah, good. So we've got another question here. Have you ditched the DSLR?
No, it's sitting there. It's I don't sort of bust it out most days when I'm walking home, but no, I still have it. I still really like it. It's a Nikon D750, and if I'm going overseas, that'll be the first thing that I generally take. So yeah, no, I still have it.
And so then that sort of leads into the next question. Why the move to the Ricoh?
Just because I'm going to work, I've got a few things I don't need to take with me, and it's just something I can shove in my pocket. It's fully manual, which I really need to sort of get the look I'm after, and it's just tiny. The Fuji's tiny as well, so they're both good cameras just to have with you. But this is even lighter. I was using this today and yesterday, and it's got a shocking battery. I think you can get about 200 shots and then it's dead. And then I pulled out the Fuji after that, and you can feel it. Like, it is actually a lot heavier. So this one, you can just shove it in your pocket and have it with you wherever you are. So that was the reason for that. And I got a voucher for the photo competition that I won. So I just spent it on that. So yeah.
Oh, great. Well done. Yeah, they do say the best camera to get a photo is the one that you have on you. So
Exactly.
it's easier to have a
Exactly
lighter
right.
camera on you, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
So we've got another question here. Oh, this might be a bit tricky. What camera do you prefer?
Oh. Again, well, no, you just said it, didn't you? It's the camera you have on you. The DSLR, I've got a Sony 35mm on that generally, and it's so heavy. So yeah, look, I don't know. I'm still getting to know the Ricoh, so I don't really. I think that has a bit of potential to be good. The Fujifilm sort of has a bit of a color scheme baked into it, which is good, which I enjoy. But no, they're all my babies, really. I like them all for different reasons, so they serve a different purpose. I see John Evertoni said Fuji, so you know, I've got to for his benefit.
And another question coming in from Jason. What lens do you usually use?
So on the Fuji, it's a 27 prime, and I'm used to that now. I sort of see everything in that. This, I don't know what this is. This is this is 18, so yeah, it's a lot wider. But yeah, so generally 27 on a crop sensor or 35 on a full frame. So yeah, I haven't really used 50 that much. But when I was in Kathmandu, I had a 16 to 35, so it was mainly that range. So
yeah, right. All right, so you started off in black and white, and then you've started shooting more color.
yeah.
Was there any reason for that?
It was just some of the photos I was getting, like the one in Latrobe with the guy walking past. I just really love the colours of the background and the scene, so I can't put this in black and white because it works so much better in colour. So I just I get the photo, and whatever works in post, I sort of go with. But I love black and white photography. It's probably where I lean to most, but the stuff I'm getting at the moment, I don't know if it's the weather or whatever, but I'm liking the sort of colours that I'm capturing. So yeah, just whatever works for the photo, I think. So
yeah, sure. Why is it that you like black and white so much?
It's just those photographers that I really enjoy looking, like Trent Park, Van Ho. They've just got there's no distractions in black and white photography, is there? Like, you have to sort of nail it. And I just love the mood. I love the feel it creates, the high contrast. So that's just what appeals to me. I find it more visually striking. And yeah, colour's great. Colour has a purpose, but I think black and white's what really sort of hits me, and yeah, it impressed me the most.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed in some of your images, it looked like you were down low, or you had a bit of an angle. Is that because you are down low, or are you shooting from the hip?
I'm just short, I think. No, yeah, look, I don't know, without seeing the photo, possibly. I probably have crouched down for a few just to sort of shoot up and get a bit of a different vantage. So yeah, generally it could be hip or you know, a lot of my stuff's generally at eye level, but yeah, I think at times I will sort of get down low and get a different scene. So
sure. And we won't keep you much longer, considering you've got to get to bed. Your top place or favourite place to shoot in Melbourne?
Oh, good question. Good question. Well, there are a couple of places that I go back there every day and I've never got a frame. Either someone's not there walking through it, or the light's not right. So probably North Melbourne Station is one of my favourites, but either Little Collins, Little Burke have been pretty fruitful for me, those sort of alleyways. So CBD, definitely. I do need to get out because I'm getting kind of bored of the CBD at the moment. So I can't though, can I? It's not within 5 k's of my house. But yeah, I'll have to get out to some of the other suburbs, and because I think I'm like Karen of Brighton, I've done all the CBD. So
you've got to say that rolling your eyes.
Yeah.
We've got a question coming from Jason. Do you frame up and snap quick, or do you frame up and take your time?
Take my time, yeah. So I get the frame and I'll just sit and wait. So yeah, I'll get the shot that I want, frame up, and be pretty patient. So yeah, the one thing for me, photography is all about patience to get the shot. I hear a lot of people on YouTube or just talking to people, if they don't get what they want, they move on, and that's fine for those photographers. But yeah, I'm happy to wait and just sort of slow down and take my time. And spend an hour on the one spot and not get anything. So
yeah, excellent. I'm a bit of a fisher as well. I like to wait for the right person to walk into the scene.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's it for the questions then from me, Russ. I just want to say thank you so much, Mark.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you talking us through the beautiful imagery, and yeah, I think when we get back into Melbourne, it's going to feel like a city that we haven't seen.
Oh,
Well, we wouldn't have seen it for a long time, but you know, like an overseas city.
absolutely. No, we won't know ourselves. I'm looking forward to it, getting some people on the street again.
Absolutely. Thanks, Russ.
No problem. Well, thanks very much, Mark, for sharing your insights and shooting, especially Melbourne. I agree with Sue. We haven't been out so much. Hopefully, we can all get good behaviour for and a release, maybe some sort of parole system. We get out early and
Exactly.
get back into shooting down in Melbourne. I'm a bit jealous looking at the photos, thinking that you're still actually out there. But
I am.
unlike,
Sorry, don't tell me.
yeah, unlike Karen from Brighton, I can't even hit the tan. I'm about 500 metres short, so I'm stuck. But interesting, you're talking about backpacks being the bane of street shooters. I always thought it was earphones, and lately it was those iPod things hanging out of people's ears like these two white lines.
Good point.
Yeah, I've seen some beautiful photos in the Middle East of people in the traditional garb, and they've got these white things hanging out their ears. I think that's going to be the number one. But I agree with everyone. Face masks are going to become, the natural or the new bane of the street photographer. But we just have to deal with that.
Absolutely.
Anyway, thank you again. And if you'd like to check out any more of Mark's work, you can check out his Insta feed at Mark J. Davidson. So we still have a weekly challenge of shapes happening in our Insta feed. So if you want to check that out while you're at it, you can check out all the nice work that's been hashtagged with AASPI shapes. Also, look out for our newsletter, which will appear in our inbox shortly, and that will also include some information on our AGM, which is happening on the 11th of November. So if you want to get involved with that, keep that date spare. I think there'll be an invite to everyone as well. And just finally, if you have any ideas for the speaker series, just drop Team AASPI an email. All the information is on our website, aspi.com.au. So keep your eye on the inbox for our next guest speaker. So